Hi guys, welcome to the podcast, I Need More From You. I'm your host, Dr. Kristin Oakes, and in this podcast, we're talking all things health and wellness along with life, from being a wife, a mother of 5, and a CEO, how to juggle it all while still staying sane, at least most of the time. This is real life stuff, so I want you guys to buckle up and let's thrive. No excuses. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. I have a very special guest joining us, Daryn Harris. This girl is a powerhouse, you guys. Her current record is 1-0 in boxing. She's going to go into her story though and tell us, what else she's been cooking over the years, but she is prepping for some influencer boxing. So current record 1-0. She has a fight that's coming up actually this weekend. This is not going to air before her actual fight. So if you guys want to check her out, follow her journey. Stay tuned for her next fights that will be happening. Check her out on IG. It's at Daryn Harris _. Yep. And that's DARYN Harris _. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks
Super excited to have you. I really just want to know, first of all, you're beautiful, you're so strong, you're amazing, which is why I wanted you to come onto this podcast, because I feel like that there's so many people that, look up to you and, your grind of what you're doing and building for yourself. So I just really want to know, how did you get started in this path?
Yeah, so I started out actually lifting weights in general back in college. So I was like 20 years old. Before that, I was a cheerleader in high school.
Okay.
I wasn't a good cheerleader, but I was a cheerleader for like 8 years. Before that, I was a gymnast. In between all that, I was running track.
So you've been athletic.
Yeah, but I was kind of copping out with track. Like I would always I started with running the mile.
Okay. Because they all force us to run the mile, right?
Right. So I was running the mile, and then I switched to pole vaulting. I got injured.
Okay.
And then I switched to long jump because it was the easiest thing I could do and the least running. So I was always trying to find the easiest thing to do, but still be on a team because I liked that aspect of it. And then cheerleading all throughout high school. I really didn't like working out. I never lifted any weights. When they made us go to the weight room, I would purposely not go. So when I was in college, I started lifting weights. I think I was 22 when I started to, get a lot more muscle, and I started to follow a bunch of bodybuilders. I really wanted to do a bodybuilding competition.
Okay.
Kind of started copying people that I found on the internet, Olympians like Laura Lee Chapados and people like that, and following their workouts and becoming obsessed with them. And then I was at a gym called Boxer at the time.
Wait, I have to stop you. Did you ever end up doing a comp?
No, you
didn't. Okay.
No,
So you just got really fit by
following
them.
And everyone was telling me you should do a comp, which was what I was planning on doing. And then I went to a gym called Boxer. They had Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, all these different martial arts. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why don't you come try the Muay Thai class?" And I was like, what's Muay Thai?
What's Muay
and
Thai?
I was 23 at the time, about to be 24. And she was like, I think you would really like it. If you have any anger or anything, just come. It'll be...
Let it out. Let it rip.
It'll be a fun experience. And I was like, okay, why not? So I was really nervous, but I went to my first class, and I kind of just fell in love with it on the first day. And it was an instant thing where I was like, wow, I actually love this. This is a really good stress release, but also I'm able to defend myself, which I wasn't able to in the past because I was so skinny. So when I found Muay Thai. I also became obsessed with it. I decided I don't want to do a bodybuilding competition. I just want to train weights, but also do fight training. So shortly after that, I started to pick up more and more classes every week. And then I got to the point where I was doing like 3 privates a week with my coach. We were doing it for like 45 minutes. Then it went to an hour, then an hour and 30 minutes. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of training.
I just became obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And then I told my coach at the time that I wanted to do a fight because I'm like, hey, I'm doing all this training. Why not do a kickboxing fight or a Muay Thai fight? And I don't know what was wrong with this coach, but he laughed in my face and he was like, you're too old.
Too old?
Yeah, he was like, you're too old. You can't fight. You're a girl. You don't want to do that. Why would you fight? You don't need to fight. He's like, people that fight have really hard lives and you don't. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, if I'm doing all this training and I'm paying all this money, why not put my hard work to show?
Right.
So I said, okay, well, I'm going to find a new coach. So I was like hitting the bag one day at Boxer, and Michael Babb, my old kickboxing coach, saw me and he was like, hey, I see that you're training a lot. What's your goal with this? And he sat with me for like an hour and showed me how to kick correctly because I was kicking wrong for like 4 months with this other coach. And I was like, wow, you open up my eyes. Will you work with me? And he was like, well, what's your goal with this? Like I said, and I was like, I want to try a fight. You think you can make me a fighter in 6 months? And he looks at me crazy and he goes, it's not impossible, but it's going to be really hard. Are you like committed to doing this? And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. I made the commitment to myself. And then we started training 3 days a week. I would go to his class 3 days a week. I started sparring people and fell in love with kickboxing. Did my first kickboxing fight after 6 months with him. Won that tournament. It was 2
So
fights.
you stuck to the 6 months. Okay, amazing.
Yeah. So it was like a really surreal experience, like having everyone on my side. Like my whole family came to my first fight.
Was it here in Miami?
It was in Pompano Beach.
Okay, Pompano, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't that far. And it was a tournament, so I had 2 fights in one day.
Awesome.
And that was like really nerve-wracking. But I'm really happy I did it. I loved working with him. Shortly after that, he has currently and got cancer, stage 4 cancer. So
wow.
it went throughout his body. He's still like dealing with that right now. He's going through chemotherapy. So bless his heart. I'm really sad about losing him as a coach. But I went to another gym.
Okay.
I went to MMA Masters after that, and I ended up training there for a few months. I never found a coach that I had like a connection with there. I fought, and it was my first fight that I lost after that in December.
So you went to this other gym, but you didn't have a coach, and then you still committed to a fight.
Yeah.
Just training by yourself.
Basically, and I was paying a guy to train me, but he was an MMA fighter. So he was more focused on like getting the money from me. He wasn't really like a coach, like my old coach. He wasn't there for me like he should have been. So I took a fight.
This was another kickboxing fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was with a girl from this gym currently from KO Zone. It was the only fight I lost. I was too confident and I went up 2 weight classes for the fight. I thought that it would be a good idea.
2 weight classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I made a mistake. She was a lot bigger than me, taller than me, more experienced than me. So I lost that fight and I kind of like woke up a little bit and I'm like, hey, what am I doing?
Reevaluate everything, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need that to get a little fire under your butt and change your perspective, or we all have to be humbled, right?
Exactly. So I'm happy that I lost because it showed me a lot. And like 2 days after I lost, I was back in the gym because I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong and how can I improve it? Yeah. So that's when I left MMA Masters and I started coming here to KO Zone. And I was going to do another kickboxing fight. I injured my leg in the middle of my camp. And then I decided to switch to boxing. So I was like, I'm going to do a boxing fight just to work on my hands. And that's when I found my coach now. Coach
You're
Domingo.
so brave. Like, I'm injured, so let me just go and do a boxing fight instead. And so that's how you got introduced into boxing. And then how long did you train boxing before you took a fight?
Oh, like a few weeks.
Of course you did.
I was like, okay, well, it can't be that much different. It is a lot different.
Yeah.
So when I did really well in that fight, I won that fight, but I kind of just leaned on Domingo. Domingo wasn't even there either. Like, I went with one of his assistant coaches, Willie, and he helped me a lot. But I kind of just was thinking about all the things he told me to do in the fight and leaned on that. And yeah, that's kind of where I am today. So
Okay, so now you're preparing for your next fight in boxing because now we're going to be solely focused on boxing. You're leaving kickboxing for now.
For now, yeah.
Okay, and so you have your boxing fight coming up this weekend. You've been preparing for that. How long has it been since your last fight?
A month.
Okay, so the goal is you spoke about influencer boxing. I don't really, what does that mean? Like, can you just explain to us what is influencer boxing?
So influencer boxing is something that I feel like was kind of recently created. The biggest one right now is Misfits.
Okay.
But it's on like one of the main boxing networks, DAZN. So Jake Paul fought for them.
Okay.
You see people like Dylan Dennis, KSI. It's KSI's boxing league. So he's a big influencer. They have a bunch of like Twitch people that fight and people that like came into boxing later in their lives, or people that just have a big social media following that want to, take the opportunity.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I'm training like a pro. I'm training 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day sometimes, because I want to be the best of the influencer boxers. I know that like I didn't start boxing like these professional people at 5 years old,
Super
6
young.
years old. And this is kind of like my path right now, because I don't want to say it's the easiest thing to do, because it's not easy, but it's...
No way, it's not easy.
It's the most, it just makes the most sense for where I'm at in my career.
Totally get it. So preparing for influencer boxing. Nice. Okay, so I want to know, being a woman in MMA in general, have you had any, I guess you could say it's a male dominated sport, right? So for you, have you had any like personal struggles trying to break into this field because you are a female, or, what have you, that first guy that you told him you wanted to, the first coach, you wanted to do a fight and he was like, no, you're a woman. So have you had anything like more of those sort of situations arise since trying to follow this path into MMA?
I would say the main thing is like people having the wrong intentions, like being creepy or trying to take advantage of you. Like a lot of these, really good coaches that you see working with these pros and people that, have good social media and all this stuff, like they want to take advantage of you. So that's the biggest thing I think as a woman, is to like be careful, like who you work with, because some people can be creepy and they don't really care. But also like as a woman too, I think that it's almost easier to get fights and easier to be picked up by organizations, because there's less competition.
It's not as popular, right?
Yeah, it's not as saturated. So I think it's easier to break through in MMA or boxing or whatever it is as a woman, because there's so much less competition. Since you, like you said, it's more of a male dominated field. Like you have a lot more opportunity. People will have their eyes on you. But like I said, you kind of have to weed out all the creeps and
for sure
weird things going on.
Well, yeah, you're on a platform, you're doing something that most women don't do, right? So, and you're beautiful, so people are just going to be a creep anyways. So got to look out for that. So I totally get what you're saying. But I love that the sport is definitely growing and more women are definitely, getting involved in MMA, and it's grown so much just, since I was first introduced to it, back in like 2009.
Right.
I think we had like Ronda Rousey and Misha Tate, those were the people, like the big names that, that's where, who was really disrupting the market and, and bringing more women awareness into MMA. So it's super cool. Do you have anybody particular that you look up to or, aspire to be like in the combat field?
I would say when I was doing kickboxing, it was Tiffany Timebomb. She's like the glory champion. She has really good boxing, really good kicks. She knows how to cut angles really well. If she went into boxing, she would crush it. But she's older now, and I think for boxing, Clarissa Shields, because she was just the first woman to box and broke through in the industry, and she's just a savage. So those are my top two, I would say.
I love that. Okay, so training camp, what does that look like for you? You were already training crazy before you even were doing training camp. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think...
Has it changed or is it just like...
It's a little more intense. Like the 2 weeks leading up to this fight, aside from like fight week, Domingo and I were doing 2 sessions a day. Plus I was taking the class or doing sparring. So I had my last really hard sparring on Saturday. I sparred with a girl who has 17 UFC fights.
Wow.
50 boxing fights.
Okay.
And she's going into bare knuckle. So
hardcore.
Kind of was the hardest sparring I've ever had in my life. I've never gotten hit that hard. So that was an experience.
For sure.
But that was like the hardest sparring I've ever done. That was my last sparring I did too, to kind of mentally prepare myself for this. But training in a training camp is pretty similar. I would say the only thing that's a little different is the types of strength and conditioning workouts I'm doing. It's less focused on, volume, but more focused on low repetitions, heavyweight, or a lot of explosive movements.
Okay.
Which is like most people think, if you're boxing or fighting, you shouldn't lift heavy weights. You can, but you need someone to tell you exactly what you need to do so you're not doing it wrong and you're not doing bodybuilding workouts, which is, more common what people would do when they think of heavy lifting.
Heavy lifting, right.
And a lot of running.
You're running a lot?
Yeah.
For the cardio aspect?
Yeah, for my cardio, before I was boxing, I wasn't running at all. When I was kickboxing, I wasn't. But I've been running a lot more, sprint training, longer distance runs. So that's like 2 times a week. And then supplementing all that with like Pilates and yoga. So you
are doing all that too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
So it's a lot. But right now,
multifaceted.
Yeah,
you're hitting all the different angles.
But right now I'm Domingo was telling me don't do that, and I want to do so much, and I need to just
scale back. It's kind of hard for you.
Yeah,
because you like to do a lot.
Yeah, scaling back is the hardest part.
Makes sense. So fighting weight. What is your fighting weight?
For this fight, it's 120.
Okay.
The next fight I take, it's 115.
What do you walk around at?
128.
Okay, so you had to cut 8 pounds for this?
Yeah.
And then okay.
But most of the weight that we cut is just water. Mm-hmm. So right now, today, I'm a few days out from my fight. I'm 125. Mm-hmm. After I work out, I'll probably be 124. And then, the morning of the weigh-in, which is on Friday, we'll cut the last 3 or 4 pounds.
And what is that? Sauna. Just sitting in a sauna. That's how you're cutting it.
Sauna suit. Literally sauna suit, and don't drink water.
Just dehydrating yourself.
Exactly.
Oh, man, that's tough. Have you found throughout this process that there's a better or a healthier way to cut weight, or you kind of tweaked it along the way to what works best for you?
So my last camp, I was working with a different strength and conditioning coach who was also helping with nutrition, but he cut my calories so low, and I was 122 the day before I had to actually cut my weight. So I was actually too low.
And that was when you went up 2 weight classes, right?
No, the last boxing fight
okay.
was also 120. But I just felt that was unnecessary to scale back my food so much.
Do you remember what your calories were at?
It was 1,400 calories.
1,400 calories.
For like almost a month. I'm like, this is not sustainable. I felt like crap.
You felt really
bad. And I kept telling him, I'm hungry. He's like, oh, well, that's what you need to do. But he didn't understand. Like, I was also on my period, so I wasn't even losing the weight. I was just literally like so hungry. It didn't make sense. Which is why this camp we're doing it a little different.
You feel better though? This camp?
I feel a lot stronger.
More energy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's good to cut back food, but you can do it the way that I'm doing it this time, which is just cutting all the water out, which honestly I prefer because then I can get back up to like 128, even 130 on the day of my fight.
Nice. Okay. So before a fight, you know, it's normal to have nerves, right? But do you have like something that you do to kind of help stay calm and collected, or like how do you handle and manage all of those emotions?
So I try not to be on my phone a lot because that can cause me a lot of anxiety, but I would say a lot of meditation. Usually I just do it on YouTube. I'm working with a sponsor now though that's a breathwork specialist.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Okay,
so cool.
That's super cool. I want to try breathwork.
Yeah, you should try. They're called Breath Tribe. They're located here in Miami in El Portal. They do ice bath, contrast therapy, which I go to every Sunday. So we do 4 rounds of sauna and ice bath.
Wow, that's super cool. How long in each one?
So like the first round in the ice bath, I'll do like 4 minutes and then we go in the sauna for 15 and then I go to 3 minutes in the ice bath and then sauna for 15 and then a minute and a half in the ice bath, sauna for 15 and then dunk for the last one in the ice bath. So
that dunk is always...
The dunk is great.
I never thought I would do an ice bath, and they were competing in Arizona, and there was actually a sauna and an ice bath at the house we were staying at, Airbnb. Yeah, it was so beautiful. And I can't stand cold water. I can't stand being cold weather, you know, and I never thought I would ever do an ice bath. And then the kids convinced me to finally do one. And it was only a few minutes, but I never was able to go underwater, like fully submerge myself. So it's definitely something I want to try and do. But I love the sauna. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I think it's so beneficial and healing and just detoxing. So I love that. And I think it's super, like that's beautiful for your recovery to do the...
Right. I think the biggest thing about the ice bath, because I didn't like it either, we do breath work before, so...
You're in that space. You're ready.
Right. And then they're there to kind of coach you. Like, I didn't realize, like, okay, as soon as you get in, you're like... But what she tells you to do is breathe in, and then the exhale has to be way longer than your inhale. So if you're like...
So it helps you calm down.
And then you're like, everything just chills out. And then you're like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Like, if you don't do the breath work part, then you can't. Like, it's just...
It's tough,
terrible.
It
it's
is.
terrible. So
feels like needles everywhere until it finally goes away. But you have to get through that, and it's painful.
But it's so good for, like, mental.
Absolutely.
Like,
mental toughness.
Every time I go, I'm nervous, but then I go and I'm like, wow, like, I feel amazing.
I haven't done the cycling, so I want to try that.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's super cool.
They do it on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. and Sundays. So if
Very
you ever
cool.
want to go.
Okay, I love that. The kids, you know, all of our kids do the ice baths and sauna too. So I just think it's so beneficial, and they train a lot too. So we love it. I'm all about that. Super cool. Okay, so you get in your space. You've been doing the breath work. So now you're pre-fight. You're meditating. You're focusing on your breath work to kind of help you keep calm, cool, and collected. And do you have any like routine or anything like that you do, or you're just...
I don't have a routine yet. I probably should kind of work on some like ritual. I know a lot of fighters have that.
Some people do and then some don't. Like, you know, we pray, but I don't know what you have.
Yeah, I pray a lot. I pray every morning, every night, before every meal. So, you know, it's kind of just ingrained in my routine right now, but I think on fight day, just sleeping as much as I possibly can before I get there. And sitting like with headphones on. Is that so
you don't have to like be hyped up about it or think about it? Is that why?
Yeah.
Okay.
And get nervous and like, especially when I'm here and the fight's about to happen, like I have to be really calm and like not talk to anyone. And I'm very locked in until like I know I'm going to fight in like 20 minutes. Then I start warming up, getting myself warm, getting a little sweat, and then I'm good. But like, I try not to think too much about it.
For me, competing in jiu-jitsu, I haven't done any, boxing, kickboxing, anything. Like I train for fun or whatever, but pre-fight, I just get so anxious and worked up, and then you're out there, and then it's like you just get this adrenaline dump, and it's like, crap, I lose all my strength or whatever, or my blood sugar goes wild. I don't know. Like, it's just like a whole episode that I go through, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? But I think it's so fun to be able to do it. And I see my kids go out there and do it, and I'm like, I want to be like them. Like, they just go wrestle, they'll, do jiu-jitsu, whatever, and then just chalk it up and be fine. And like, I'm like having a dang meltdown because I just need to get better at managing that and, channeling it better so that I'm not so worked up.
I think I'm kind of the same though. Like, when I think about, okay, I'm about to go fight, I know exactly how you feel. Like, know the feeling you're going to get when you fight. You know that anxiety that's going to come. So it kind of psychs you out a little bit. Like, I knew last fight, like, I was so freaking nervous. And then I got out there, and like the first round, I was like, where's all my strength? I'm pushing, like, my punches. I'm not even doing what I needed to do. And then I just hear the words, like, my coach told me, have fun. Like, just have fun with it. So when I hear that, I'm like, okay, now I'm in the zone. I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to stress. I'm not going to worry. But like, yeah, when I think about the feeling I get of warming up for the fight and walking out, that gives me so much anxiety. Like, because you know what it feels like. So once you know that feeling,
you're like, oh my gosh,
you're like,
we're really doing this. Why did I sign up for this? Why did I agree to do this?
Right.
So yeah, it's like, how can we get better at that? And I think maybe it's just doing it more often. It'll get better with time,
Because then you just get more used to it.
Right.
I think.
The kids, they have, so many matches and stuff. So I feel like they're desensitized to all of that, and they don't know any different, maybe. I think that's what it is. And we just need to do it more. Yeah. And we'll get more comfortable with it, which I know we will. So, okay, I love that. And I'm glad I'm not the only one that's turned into this crazy lady, trying to figure it out. Okay, so we talked about, your fight life. What's something that nobody knows about you, like besides from boxing, kickboxing? What do you want to share with us that people wouldn't expect to come from Daryn Harris? You're not from Miami.
No, I'm not. So I moved here 3.5 years ago now.
Okay.
Originally from New York. I went to college in Connecticut. So I'm a Northeastern girl.
You're a snowbird that stayed? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so my dad has lived here for a while.
Okay.
During COVID, when I was in college, I came down here to live with him. Huh. And then when I graduated from college, I was working in the city. And my contract ended for the company I was working for. So I was like, what am I going to do? I can't pay to live in New York City. I don't have a job. So my dad was like, come live with me until you figure it out. And I never left.
You never left. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm biased. I definitely think Miami's better than New York. I like New York to go and visit, but not to stay there. I can't handle it. It's changed
a lot.
Yeah.
I think like 2017, 2016, 2015 were the best years in New York. And then I feel like when COVID hit, it got weird, and I'm kind of happy I'm gone, but I do miss it. I do miss it.
I think it's good to go and visit and, do Times Square, do the touristy things. We actually went to the Hamptons last summer for the first time. And
oh, really?
It was so beautiful there. I just loved it. I can't wait to go back. So
what Hampton do you go to?
I don't remember. I don't know. I remember there being like a small little downtown. There was like super cute yoga studios and little shops, and Calvin Harris lives there. Where's that at? The kids were walking on the beach getting seashells, and then he had like really big seashells out by his
Maybe it was East Hampton.
Maybe it was. That might sound.
Or Southampton. There's so many.
Southampton.
Bridge,
okay, so
Montauk.
At the time is whenever that one celebrity got pulled over. Justin Timberlake. He got pulled over for a DWI.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We didn't know if it was a publicity stunt or if it was legit, but it was during that whole time, and so it was near wherever that hole went down, wherever all of that went down.
I gotta look that up.
I didn't even know that happened. We have to figure it out.
That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah, I grew up kind of going to the Hamptons.
Yeah,
so
we loved it there. And so it was just a really good experience. I definitely, I want to go back. Just put it that way. Okay, so you grew up in New York. Now you're here in Miami. And are you dating, single? You're beautiful, got all this stuff going for you. Dating in Miami is very vicious. Yes.
Yeah.
So finding a good woman, finding a good man, it's very difficult. So
I'm kind of seeing someone right now. I don't want to
This is new.
Yeah, very
Okay,
new.
So, it is.
Yeah, it's like playing it by ear, but
I get you.
he has good qualities.
Okay.
He's a God-fearing man. He brings me closer to like Christianity. Which
Love that.
really
Where are y'all
important.
going to church? Are y'all plugged in?
So he goes to a different church because
Okay.
he lives in Kendall.
Okay.
I live downtown, so I go to a different church by my house.
We live downtown and we go to Christ Fellowship downtown.
Oh, that's next to my house.
You need to come with us.
Because I was going to VU, and
Okay.
I got baptized there, but I kind of fell off with them a little bit.
All right.
I like the message sometimes, but I'm looking for something a little deeper.
Okay, I want you to come with us.
Okay, I would
we're gonna
love
go,
to.
and you live downtown,
Yeah,
so
I'm
it's
I'm
perfect.
literally a block away.
Okay, we can walk there.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna do it. So I love that. Yes, I definitely think having a Christ-centered relationship builds you a strong foundation for all the other crap that can come at you. But if
Right.
you put Christ at the center and just helps you, with every aspect of your life. So
I agree.
I love that. Okay, cool. We're going to go to church together. Okay. So the name of this podcast is I Need More From You, because we all have different goals and aspirations, things that we want to accomplish. So for you, Daryn, what's next for you? What do you want to accomplish next?
I want to keep fighting. I want to keep pushing myself to, achieve whatever it is that God has for me. If my path is going to be boxing, eventually I want to become a mom. So I think just, centering God around my life, he's going to kind of show me my path and whatever that is. And I trust in him. So, boxing is like my passion. I love it. It's my dream. So hopefully achieving, getting on the Misfits card this summer, eventually working my way up to fighting for a title. That would be like, my dream. And, finding someone to like share that with, a partner.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. I love it. Amazing. Well, check Daryn Harris out, her Instagram at Daryn Harris _. Follow her journey so you can tune in, see where she's going to be fighting next. And I just thank you so much for coming and joining me today. And it's, I learned so much from you always. So
thank you.
Oh, one more thing I want to say. We're going to be doing your blood work in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
So we're going to do a comprehensive analysis, see what your level of health is right now so we can get you dialed in, take you to the next level. So
I'm excited.
You're going to be ready to get on that Misfit card or whatever it is for the summertime. Yes, let's do it.
God bless.
All right, more to come. Thank you so much, Daryn.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Thank you guys so much for listening today. Subscribe so that you can hear more. This podcast does not establish a patient-provider relationship, nor is it medical advice. If you'd like to see me as a patient, please contact my team so you can thrive.